his testimony, his story of what God has done in his life with you. Brother Darrell?
How's everybody?
Good.
All right, so this is like, I don't know how, there we go. I don't know how people do this. Like, y'all making me nervous just staring at me like this. But I'm definitely not a speaker, so I probably could have did this better on Friday nights at the study thing. But I just want to talk a little bit about who I used to be before I became a Christian, and it's pretty much the same story he talked about. I was heavy into drugs, alcohol, pretty much the whole party scene all throughout my 20s. And, I never really had a regard for God or, Jesus. I actually didn't believe Jesus could ever do anything for me. I didn't even think he loved me. Never thought he could save me. And so I just lived that life with just always thinking that, I was going to hell. Because I always believed in God, but I just didn't believe Jesus would even want to do something for me. You know what I'm saying? Have anybody ever felt that way?
Mm-hmm.
Just a horrible person, So that's the kind of life I lived. I did anything I could not to think that. So that's why partying, drugs, anything to get my mind off of who I was. That person that you wake up every day by yourself, and then, you're by yourself with your own thoughts and your own actions, and you just realize how terrible a person you are. And you'd give anything to give that to somebody. And that was my life. Let's see. I got married when I was 22, 23, to a girl I did not love. As a matter of fact, she told me that if she asked me to marry her, she said if we got married, that her parents would buy me a car, furnish an apartment for us, and at the time I was living with my friend in the basement. So I was like, sounds like a good idea. Let's get married. And I remember talking to God, because I always talked to God my entire life. I never really talked to Jesus or even, thought that even think about Jesus, because I always, believed in God. And I was telling him right before I went in there to get married, I said, Lord, I don't love this woman. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe something will change in my life. I don't know. Maybe this will help me to become a better person. I don't know. But I know I don't love this woman. And then I walk in there, and I'm telling you, when I tell you, like my knees were like this the whole time. Like I should have passed out. That's how sick I wanted to throw up, because I did not want to say I do. But I did it anyway, because I didn't want to embarrass everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I got married to a woman I couldn't stand. We fought all the time. It was pretty horrible when you think about it. But I made it to where I barely had to see her. I worked midnight, she worked days, she had weekends off, I had like Tuesday, Wednesday off, so I've never seen her. So I was just living this life of just boring, complacent, whatever, it was stupid. And then I met somebody at work that totally blew my mind. Fell in love with her almost overnight. And it was the same with her. We just hit it off just like that. And I started cheating. And that went on for a couple months, and then, I finally couldn't stand living with this woman anymore, so I decided I was going to leave. And my girlfriend at the time, she had a boyfriend, so, we were doing the same thing together, so it was like we were two peas in a pod. And I asked her if she wanted to get an apartment. She was like, yeah, sure, whatever, And that's when everything went crazy. Like, my wife came looking for me. Her parents came looking for her. Their parents actually showed up to the house that we were at. And it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen, to meet somebody like that. And they were they thought I was her drug dealer, because her boyfriend had gotten word that we were hanging out together, so he called her parents to go get her because he figured she was on another drug binge or whatever. So that's how they introduced me to them and then her life like that. And needless to say, like, we didn't get an apartment together. She ended up moving somewhere with her boyfriend, and I was, me and my wife, we split up. So I'm back at my parents' house. And I got back into drugs. Like, it's what I did, I just, whatever, to keep my mind off of the ignorant things that I had to do, So I ended up, getting a divorce. About a year later, my second wife, because I ended up marrying that girl, she came back into my life, and, we were partying together, hanging out, and then I got her pregnant. And, for like, I don't know, 2.5 months, it was like the most exciting thing in my life. I was actually going to be a father. I never thought I could be a father because of all the drugs I was taking, and I was having sex with other girls and never got pregnant, so it's like, this was like, wow, this is that thing that's going to change my life. And so I was excited. And, we got the little baby books with the names, and like, if you flip through the back, you can get all those things that might happen to your baby. You know what I'm talking about? Like those baby naming books, and then like all the scary things that could happen or go wrong, and all that stuff. So yeah, we try not to read those, but I read all of it. It's pretty funny. So, but about 3 months into her pregnancy, because she was into the heavier drugs. Like I would take her to the city to get crack all the time, and she was going through a withdrawal or something. I don't know what happened, but she just came to me. She was 3 months pregnant, and she said, "I don't want this baby." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "I don't want to have this baby. I want an abortion." I'm like, "What? You can't have an abortion. The baby's already got no fingers and stuff. It's like 3 months old. Come on now, what are you talking about?" And we started. She just went off. Like, she really must have been itching for something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if anybody's ever been addicted to drugs or know what it's like, but it can be tough. And she just would not stop. She would not give it up. She did not want this baby. And finally, the fight escalated to the point where she said, "If you don't take me to the abortion clinic tomorrow, I'm going to leave you. You'll never see me again, and I'm going to get an abortion anyway." And it was at that point where I'm like, "Well, what do I do?" I didn't think, if Jesus was in my life back then, I might have been able to, save that baby. But I took her, and she had an abortion. And that was like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, because I realized at that moment that I was murdered, because I had helped her kill an unborn baby. And that was horrible to me. And it put me on like a week-long binge to just try to kill myself, basically. I was trying to smoke myself to death, drink myself to death. That's how I felt. I'm pretty sure I could have died the way I was drinking, but it finally came to a head about 7 days. I didn't have any contact with my family. Didn't go to work, didn't call off, didn't do nothing. I was just missing. And I was just sitting there, and I remember talking to God. This is the hardest part. I just told him I wanted to die. I said, "If Jesus is real, make it real to me, and I'll follow him. And I cried myself to sleep." And I woke up the next morning, and all the pain that just went up, that you just saw, all that pain, all that guilt, all of it was gone. It was just gone. And I was like, wow, Jesus is real. You say, I'm a Christian. What do I do now? You know what I'm saying? I'm freaking out. I ain't got no friends that are Christians. And I just got so excited. And I woke my girlfriend up, and I said, "Hey, I'm a Christian. I don't know what to do." We got to stop having sex, we got to get right with God. We got to start reading the Bible. We got to go to church. Where do we go to church at? I'm freaking out. She's like, you're crazy. I'm like, but you got to understand, I asked Jesus into my life last night, and he completely took away all my pain, all my guilt. It's gone. I don't even know what to do right now. I'm so excited. She's like, you're crazy. And she got up and left, and she went to her ex-boyfriend's house. At least I knew that from the conversation she had when she came back. While she was gone, I went and found my Bible, and I just started up again. I flipped through Genesis chapter 1, started reading it, and I've read the Bible a million times, because I always believed in God. And I never really got it. I never really understood Jesus, but reading it the first time as a Christian, I see Jesus on the first page. You know what I'm saying? You start reading it, you start reading about what he did for us, you start reading about what we did, and then you see the promise right there. There wasn't no anger, there wasn't no, I should just get rid of you and start over. It was like, I got this. I got a plan, and I'm going to save you. And so right there in that promise, in chapter 3, what's the verse? Genesis chapter 3, where he promised us Jesus. But, and then I was like, oh, he's talking about Jesus right there. And, so I just flipped through a couple more chapters. I go to Psalms, because I know that's where you go to, because, David was one of my favorite Old Testament people. So I went to the Psalms, and I just started reading those, and you just see all the love people have, and the frustration that people have, and it's like, I totally get that. Psalm, was it 53, I think? David's Psalm, where he spoke about Bathsheba. It was 53. It's 51 or 53. But that song is my favorite song, because it describes my life and how I felt at the moment when I became a Christian. And it's just And then life came back, my ex-wife, or my wife, came back the next day, and, we got to talking, and I really loved her, and I really wanted her to feel that feeling, I didn't want her to leave and go back out to the world and not have, I thought I could save her kind of thing. That was the thought process I had. And so I stayed with her. I told her I didn't want to have sex and nothing like that. And she stuck around for a couple of weeks, but I knew she was about to leave. And, and I was trying to talk to God about it. And I had to do something, because my prayers weren't working. So I had sex with her. And now this is a month after her abortion. 2 weeks later, she's pregnant again. Only this time, for some reason, maybe her itch was scratched, whatever. I truly believe it was God. She decided to keep that baby. And, which doesn't make any sense, since she just aborted a baby a month ago. But she kept it, and that's my daughter, Elena, and I've been so happy and blessed to have her. And so I asked her to marry me, and because I wanted her to be with me. I wanted her to know Jesus, And we got married about a month after Elena was born. And shortly after, I found out that she had been sleeping with my brother for about 3 years, because I was trying to help him out by letting him stay at my house. I had just became a Christian, and he was just like me before I became a Christian. And I worked midnights. So it was only a matter, I could, I totally understand their thought processes, what put them in that position, So it's easily understandable to see that. And there's still a possibility that Elena's not mine. I mean, I don't know that. I've never gone for a test. I don't even want to even think about that, because she looks just like me, So, but I forgave him for that, and I tried to work through it and get her to work through it. But every whenever we went anywhere, I would talk about Jesus, and I would talk about salvation. And I would go to parties still and hang out with my friends that were all still doing all the things I used to do. But I would be telling them about Jesus, and she would always get so mad at me. Like, everywhere we go, that's all you talk about. Why don't you just shut up or don't stop coming? I'm like, these are my people, you know what I'm saying? I love Jesus. What do you want me to do? Not be me? Yeah, pretty much. And, she cheated again with a coworker that she had at her job, and then asked me to leave the apartment that we had. I was like, that's fine with me, but I'm taking Elena. So that happened. And then, me and Elena staying at my mom's house, and she's staying at the apartment that we had with like 3 people. They were all just partying up, because I went over there a couple times, and there was drugs on the table. She's wanting to have her daughter overnight, and she's got drugs sitting on the table. I'm like, well, this is crazy, you know what I'm saying? You gotta clean this stuff up, man, get these people out of here. And, it just went on for a couple weeks, and then she went on and did an overdose of some sort, and she was in the hospital. And nobody went and seen her. Like, I had found out from her friend that was staying with her that she's in the hospital, and nobody had went up there yet to see her. So I went up there and got to talking to her, and started, I asked her, why don't you just get rid of these people when we come in and we'll try to work this out? And, she said, yeah. And so I was there with her. And, it was fine for a couple more weeks. She would go in and out like crazy, But she's bipolar, so I always try to find ways to soften the blow to forgive, because I have forgiven her for everything. Because, she doesn't know. If she only knew Jesus, you know what I'm saying? Like, her life would be turned upside down. But it finally came to a head where she finally left me to be with the guy that she's with now in Mississippi, and that's where they've been ever since. So, I kind of keep my thoughts on them and pray for them. I actually got my daughter living with her right now since I moved to Texas, and that's actually helping a lot. So that's a good thing. And Elena's doing good, so I'm blessed that God's keeping an eye on her, and I'm praying that she'll come, her and Todd will come to know Jesus. So I hope that putting that out there, y'all can think about that too, because it's super important. But since then, I kind of went, I don't know, I want to say backslide. I went, not crazy, but I had a girl at work that was showing me attention, and it felt good because I've been through all this emotional turmoil or whatever, and it was nice to have somebody pay attention to me and want to be with me and all that stuff. And I let my guard down and slip, and I had sex with her as a Christian. So, and I was still married because the divorce wasn't final. So there I go, being an adulterer and a fornicator. And the funny thing is God didn't let me get away with it because I got her pregnant on one try. And that's my son. And we were never together. She actually doesn't like my daughter that much. I don't know how to explain it. But she's a really nice girl. She's really smart. I think she's a Christian. I'm not sure, because she says she's a Christian. But we don't talk about Jesus at the house that much. And I don't know. So that's another person I think we should pray for. And that's pretty much my story up until I found this place. And that was by the grace of God. Because I've been here since September, and I haven't gone to any church, haven't even tried to find a church. You know what I mean? Until my car broke down. And it just so happened that my car broke down right in front of the Ford dealership that these guys work at, which can't be a coincidence, because I was just talking to God that week about needing the church, needing to find some friends, because I don't have any friends down here. And it's just so funny that my car lasted as long as it did, because it was going to die anyway. Because I drive for a living. I drive like 500 miles a week. And I had already put like $2,500 in that car. And I told myself I wasn't putting no more money into it. I was going to buy a car. And sure enough, it breaks down on payday with enough money for a down payment on a car right in front of a Ford dealership that just happens to have a preacher and his brother there praying as I got there, and then giving me their card and asking me to come to church. And now, here I am, talking to y'all. And it's just amazing how God works. Like, he takes, because basically, when you become a Christian, it's like you go through like a purging process. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to get rid of all the layers of the world that have been piled on you. And it's painful. You know what I'm saying? But there's lessons in all of it. And God is faithful to you no matter what. From the moment you become a Christian, he says, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. And that is huge. And in John chapter 1, verse 2, he says, but to all who receive him, who believed in his name, he gave them the right to become children of God. And that's who we are. And that is a huge privilege. And that's what I love about this church, because this church has been speaking life into my thought processes. It just makes me want to be a better Christian, makes me want to be a better friend. And I'm excited for what's about to happen, because I know God's about to do something great. Not just in my life, but in this country, in this world, because he's coming soon. I can't wait for that. Can you? I can't wait. I just wish he would come right now. You know what I'm saying? But somebody has to get saved, and that's our job. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to save the lost. And I think this church does an excellent job of that. And I think great things are coming. And I will be a part of that, you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
So, thanks for having me.